Hey, I'm not gonna waste your time with the intro, I'm just here to show you how to make a simple progress bar that moves with expressions in Davinci Resolve. Okay, so first, let's actually build a simple bar that we'll be able to use. For this, I'm gonna use the shape nodes in order to create vector shapes, but if you feel comfortable using masks, you can also do that. It's not super important what kind of bar you decide to make, the only thing you must pay attention to here is that your 0% position of the bar must also translate to the value of 0 of your parameter that is moving the bar. So in this example, the parameter is gonna be width. And because the shape spawned in the center, I'm gonna have to offset it with the position controls to the left and make sure that the width is at 0 to represent that the bar is also at, you guessed it, 0. You will also need to mask the bar in order for it to not expand to the other side as well. To do that, simply add another rectangle shape. This will act as our mask. Then after that, add an S boolean node. This node will enable us to use that new rectangle to mask our progress bar. After that, you can customize the bar however you like, but if you want to keep it simple, you can continue with this one. Now let's get to the juicy stuff, the expressions. There's primarily only 4 kinds of progress bars that you'll ever need, and they are 0 to 100, 100 to 0, 0 to 100 that stays after completion, and lastly 100 to 0 with a delay at the beginning. Anyway, let me show you how these expressions really work. First, we're gonna start with the 0 to 100 bar. The expression for this one is by far the simplest one yet. So first of all, the time expression refers to the current frame of the clip, meaning if we're at, for example, at frame 30, it's gonna translate to the value of 30. Now the comp.renderEnd expression is also super simple to understand. It's basically how many frames make up this whole clip that we're working in. That's it. But now you may ask, how do these two expressions interact each other in this equation? The answer is actually very simple. All you have to do is imagine the equation output going from exactly 0 to 1 over the duration of the entire clip, no matter how long the clip actually is. Now the last part of this expression simply multiplies the result of the last two expressions by the end value of the parameter responsible for the bar's movement. If you don't get what I mean, I'm simply referring to either the center position, the width, height, or the length parameter that's responsible for the bar's movement. Just copy the value that's displayed when the bar is at 100% and paste it into the equation. But I do have to remind you that the 0% position has to have the value of 0 in order for this equation to work, so keep that in mind. Anyway, aside from that, you're done with the first bar. Your progress bar should be moving from left to right across the entire duration of the clip. With that done, let's move on to the second bar. This one will be pretty much the same as the last one, just in the reverse. So the equation looks like this, and as you can see, it's still not that bad. What's different from the last one is that we have converted the received result to negative and added the end value to the end of the equation in order to offset the bar to 100%, so that it starts while the bar is full. Anyways, with that done, the bar should move from right to left without any trouble. Okay, the simple stuff is over, let's move on to something a bit more fancy. Let's make a bar that will stay on screen for a set period of time after it reaches 100%. To make the expression for this one, we're gonna need to add one more expression to our equation. And in this case, it's gonna be the if expression with 2 eyes. Now what this one does is actually very simple. It basically acts as a switch. You give it a certain condition, let's say time is less than 30. Then it constantly checks that condition, and if the condition is met, it will give the first value. If not, it'll give the second. So we can put the equation from the first progress bar into the first slot and change the condition to check for when the frame number is smaller than the max frames minus 60. This will lower the time endpoint of the bar, meaning that it will end 60 frames sooner and in turn let the bar linger until the end of the clip. Now why 60? In actuality, the number is completely up to you. This is just an example. You'll have to calculate yourself what you need in that moment. Just keep in mind your timeline frame rate when selecting the number, since it will affect the real-time length of the clip. And finally, we're moving on to the last bar. This one's gonna be moving from right to left with a delay at the beginning. As you can see, this one also uses the if expression. And if you have paid attention to the last one, you may notice that instead of 2, this time we're gonna need to input the frame number 3 times. What this will do is give you this much amount of time in terms of frames before the bar starts moving. So if the number is 60 and your timeline is 60 frames per second, that means that this bar will only begin to move after a second has passed. Anyway, I hope you learned something new today. If you did, make sure to subscribe and like the video if you want me to make more of these concise and educational videos in the future. But with that said, hope you have a nice day, and until next time.